Today we're going to look at stress and peer pressure and how to manage both of these rather emotionally heavy ideas and things. So let's start with, what is stress? Stress is your body's reaction to pressure. It could be a mental or a physical pressure, or a mental or a physical reaction to pressure. For example, your heart physically pushes on blood, forces it through your body. It's called blood pressure. That is a pressure, and the reaction your body has to it is being alive. When you have good pressure, we call it eustress. This is the pressure and stress that's good. For example, if you put pressure on your brain when you're learning new things, you actually can and will learn new things. Or if you're exercising your muscles in your body, you put pressure on those muscles and they get stronger because of it. Some other examples of kind of stressful situations that can be considered good would be things like weddings or special dates or births of a baby, because those are considered good scenarios. The stress derived from them usually is good. However, there is times when your reaction to the pressure can be where you're overwhelmed and it's too much, and that's what we consider distress, and then we call it bad stress. This could happen when there's a death in the family, or divorce, or injury. You were hurt while playing your favorite sport kind of idea, broke a bone. Those are distress or pressure levels that are too high that your body is not responding well to. Well, now, I've already mentioned some things that cause stress, but that is what a stressor is, the things that cause the pressure, where stress is literally the reaction your body is having to that pressure. Stressors are everywhere. There's things everywhere that can cause us stress, and even if we recognize some things that cause us stress, we cannot avoid all of them. Although, if you know that driving during rush hour is stressful for you, you can try to avoid driving during rush hour. But you might not be able to eliminate the need to travel at all, though. The way you deal with the stressor can help make the pressure either be eustress or distress. And if it happens to be distress, some things just are distressful, you can actually have ways to deal with it that can make it less of an impact on you. Might not get rid of it, but it can make the impact a little bit less. Common stressors, or things that cause us stress, would be things like school, our family, our friends, work, and others. I love this little quote over here by the Minion. I stress about stress before there's even stress to stress about. That's kind of a definition of what anxiety is. The worrying about the worst possible outcomes without actually having proof that they're going to happen. All right, we know what stress is. We know what stressors are. Let's look at the stressors you feel. The signs of stress. Sorry, I'm off a slide. Let's look at some signs of stress. On your paper, you need to write physical, emotional, and behavioral. And then to the right of the colon, you need to write 2 examples of each kind. For example, your physical reactions to stress could be things like you're tired. You might be injured or more easily able to get injured. You might have insomnia, which is the inability to sleep even if you are tired. You can have headaches and muscle aches, or you can break out in acne and pimples. You might lose some hair. You might literally have an upset stomach and your stomach hurts. Those are some physical symptoms or signs that you are being under pressure at the time. Emotional signs are the emotions you feel. You could feel worried. You could feel irritable. You could feel like crying. You could actually cry, right? You could feel anxious. You could have nightmares, which means the worrying is invading your sleep time and making it so you're getting worse quality sleep. You can even have depression. This is a consistent sad state. If it is a long-lasting, consistent sad state, that could be chronic depression, and you can get help for that. But in a moment of stress, days, weeks, months, you could get a depression effect going on. All right, behavioral then is the actions that you take. For example, you might act out. If you would not normally yell at your brother when he's annoying, you might at this point. You might have an inability to eat because you're so nauseous or sick to your stomach. You might have some extreme anger or mood swings, and you might actually act out on that by hitting or punching. Hopefully things, not people, but that release of energy there. You might get some nervous twitch type things where you might bite your nails, or you might just mess with your fingers all the time, crack your knuckles, play with your hair, chew on the ends of your hair, jump your leg, wiggle, tap your fingers, be unable to hold still. Those are all behavioral signs that you could be stressed. And I love this picture of the zebra. He's losing his stripes and he thinks it's the stress causing that. Now that we've looked at some signs of stress, let's look at things that you actually have felt stress from. We're not in class to raise your hand, but go ahead and think. Have I felt stress at school ever? Extracurricular activities like clubs or sports, things that I do outside of school. Around my family or around my friends. And I want you to think of a couple things you do when you're stressed that help you handle it. On my next slide, we're going to give you a whole bunch of other options for managing stress. You do need to write 6 things on your paper. I suggest 2 of them be things you do, and 4 of them be things new from my slide. Managing stress can be broken into a before you feel stressed, preventative type things that you can do, and then like during the moment of how to handle it at the time. So, things you can do preventative would be have a good diet. This is not going on a sudden diet and eating different. A good diet would be a good regular intake of food, which you eat regularly is a diet. So you're getting lots of good vegetables and fruits and dairy and protein and grains, so that your body has all the vitamins and minerals and other nutrients it needs to be healthy and strong. Regular sleep, not just a good time of sleep, by the way. Most people need somewhere between 8 and 10 hours of sleep, and teenagers your age usually need a little bit more. So more like 9 to maybe 11 hours of sleep. But not just getting enough sleep is important, the timing that you do sleep. If you get into the habit of going to sleep and waking up within a half hour of the same time every day, it trains your body so that when it's time for bed, one, it's a little bit easier to go to sleep because your body just knows, oh, it's time for sleep. But 2, it actually will go into the deeper sleeps, the type of sleep that actually allow your body to heal and recuperate better, faster, and longer. You'll get better quality sleep. All right, exercise is the next one. Exercise means you're moving your muscles and your bones, and they're getting stronger because of it, your lungs and everything too. But one of the best things about exercise is when you do it, chemicals are released in your brain. And these chemicals are the feel-good chemicals or endorphins that actually can make you be happier. If you have a regular exercise routine, as in you actually exercise like daily, regularly, then you have more of the endorphins in your body, and it can help combat the depression that could come with stress. You can build some good relationships. Like actually have good friend groups and people you can go to that will listen and help you work through things if needed, but also are the ones that are not causing you the stress in the first place. Or at least not all the time, because sometimes friends have a bad day too, and they're having some behavioral stress symptoms going on. School and work allows a lot of stress because there's things that need to be done by certain times. So if you make to-do lists and stay organized, so you know what needs to be done when, and you have priority lists that say what needs to be done first, you can actually manage everything that needs to be done and things don't sneak up on you. And hopefully you're not putting things off to the last bit, which is what procrastination could be. Waiting to the last possible minute to do something does not bode well for the pressure scenario. When you put things off to the last minute, there's that sudden crunch, sudden pressure that a lot of people say actually helps them get things done better, but it can become too much pressure, which then is not good for your mental, physical state, right? All right, those are things to do before you get stressed to make sure you're in the best mental and physical state to handle this pressure. Now let's look at some things to do in the moment of. One of the first things would be to actually recognize or acknowledge that you're feeling stressed, because then you can try these coping mechanisms to help you out. There's lots of ways to give yourself a mental break where you count down, close your eyes, count down, regulate your breathing to try to calm down. There's lots of those sorts of things you can do in the minute. You can literally take a break from whatever you're doing or that's causing the stress. Please note though, if you go away from something and never come back, that is what we call procrastination. Taking a break is usually a 15-minute or less break that you go and you do something that you like that could make you happy with those good endorphins, right? That way when you come back, you're calmer, you've got the happy endorphins going on, and you're better able to tackle the challenge at the time. One of the great things to do during take a break is find a way to laugh. That could be talking to a best buddy, that could be playing with your dog, that could be going outside and going for a run. Screaming into a pillow sometimes just helps relieve some of that pressure too. A lot of people like to listen to music. I do too. And depending on your personality, you might need the calm music that helps slow you down and calm you down. Others really like the really high pace, like rock and roll style that just allows you to mentally scream almost, or scream along, whatever. That helps release some pressure. And sometimes when you're feeling super stressed and super under pressure, you might have to say no to some things. Instead of saying yes to another activity or another something, say no, I need to make sure that I'm taking care of what I currently got, because that would be too much. All right, hopefully you wrote down at least 6 things on your paper. We are going to have a stress relief day here in the future where we actually are going to practice a bunch of these managing stress in the moment type things. Right now, you're going to reflect though. Write a 4 to 6 sentence paragraph talking about stress and you. Please note, if you actually answer each of these questions below, it's very easy to get 4 to 6 sentences, so don't stress about the writing and pick one at a time. So start with what are your stressors? Who or what causes you stress? What effects do you have? Do you have physical, mental, and emotional symptoms? Actually explain them. And then talk about some things that you do to stop stress, what works best to get rid of it. If you're struggling to find enough, actually add in there some, hey, I'm going to try this that we just talked about, or that I think might help kind of idea. Go ahead and pause the video here so that you can actually have enough time to write this down. Now that we've talked about stress, let's move on to peer pressure, a type of stress. And boom, some refusal skills, and you can do this kind of things. First thing that I want you guys to know is that peer pressure is often confused as friendship. You feel like you have a friend when they're not really your friends. They're just pressuring you into doing things, and you do them to fit in and feel like you have the friends. So we do need to use caution when we're looking at friends and peer pressure. So let's look at what good friends really are. Good friends are extremely valuable and a positive element in our lives. Everybody needs friends. Some people need a lot of friends. Some people only need a couple really good friends. That is personality, whatever. But all friends have a similar common thing. With your friends, good friends will give you this feeling of belonging and acceptance, that you fit for who you are. Not that you need to change to fit in, but that you actually are wonderful just the way you are. With these good friends, you can do things, you can share experiences, you can share feelings because they are safe people to be around, and you can actually enjoy and do the fun stuff together. And also, with good friends, you're going to develop this sense of personal worth. Because like I was saying before, they accept you for who you are, which makes you a valuable human. All humans are valuable. And good friends will help you feel that, and you'll be able to build that sense of your personal worth, that you are worth being friends with. All right, there's lots of different benefits that you get from friend groups. So let's look at an acronym for them. G stands for it gives you self-esteem. It's kind of similar to that trend I was just talking about. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself, not how your friends feel about you or what you think your friends feel about you, but literally how you feel about yourself. If you're with a good group of friends, you will be able to build how you feel about yourself because they will do things that will help build you. Next one, R, reduces stress. Friends can be so stressful, but good friends will not be stressful all the time. They might have their bad days when they are currently feeling stressed and therefore might be irritable, right? But good friends would not be causing the stress like on purpose or all the time. In a good group of friends, everybody is offered opportunities for social and leadership skills. It gives you the chance to take turns to lead what the group does, to actually be able to build things like communication and teamwork together. The U stands for understands social expectations. They understand what is expected in society, the people that we live around kind of idea. For example, they would not be going out and breaking the law by stealing candy bars or doing any other illegal type things, as well as just the unspoken, not actually illegal things, but the rules we have for how to interact with people so that everybody feels safe and belongs. The P is going to stand for provides identity and emotional security. You know who you are, you know who your friends are, and you guys fit together, and you have this emotional security because you all understand that you are unique and individual and can still fit in with each other. The last one is that S, the sense of belonging and unity. I have already kind of touched on this a little bit, that everybody does feel like, needs to feel like they belong somewhere. All right, places where you can find these groups and people you're around. They could be sports, like your basketball or soccer team. It could be a character building group like the Scouts, Boys and Girls Clubs. At Indian Hills, we have the PTSA, which you can be in as a sixth grader, or NJHS, which is also a service type group, which is only available for 7th and 8th graders. You can have community service groups like the Kiwanis and the Rotary Clubs. They often will go out and clean parks and stuff like that. But then we also have church and religious groups where you have people that believe the same way as you around your same age. You'll do activities together. You can actually find groups for specific causes or concerns you have. For example, you might have a specific environment or social issue that you want to be a part of. This could be things like trying to clean up the Great Salt Lake so that it is functional. Your neighbors, literally the people that you interact with, because you can walk outside, you can walk to their house, knock on the door, and ask if they can come out and play. Activity-centered is very similar to these other ones. It is focused on your hobbies or interests. So it'd be like any other club that you might be interested in, like a chess club or a book club, or the sewing guild at Indian Hills, where you find that you have similar hobbies and therefore you make friends in that group of people that are getting together to do the same kind of thing. Here are some warning signs. Not all groups of people or groups of friends are good people to be around. So if you say yes to any of the following about a group of friends you're in or you would like to join, please note, you might need to think twice or 3 times about this. First one's kind of obvious. Does the group threaten you if you don't do what they say? Of course, if they're threatening you, that is not a safe environment and therefore not good friends. Does the group engage in any illegal activity? Once again, that's not a very safe environment and they're probably not going to help build anybody up in the process. Does the group demean or belittle or put down others? Do they make fun of people and tear down their self-esteem? Does the group promote prejudice? This is a prejudgment about someone, an idea, or even a thing that they don't actually know anything about. They're just promoting an existing judgment that either they or someone else made without taking the time to get to know the person, idea, or thing. Does the group engage in secret behavior that they don't want others to know about? This often will quickly jump the lines into other illegal or detrimental, things that are not good for you, type of behavior. It's all right to have the secret handshake or hideout within reason, as long as you're being safe and not jumping over the line into illegal or other really bad, unsafe behavior. If you said yes to any of the above, it's probably not a positive group to join or one you should consider getting out of. All right, peer pressure itself. Now that we kind of talked about what good friends are and what not so good friends are, peer pressure is literally going around along with the crowd, doing what you see a large number of people doing so that you fit in. Might not be what you want to do, but you're doing it so you fit in. And therefore, letting the group or having the group make the decisions for you, you've lost your power to choose on your own, or at least you feel like you have. And believing that everybody is doing it. Everybody's doing it, therefore you can't be the only one not doing it, which is totally not true. In case you didn't know, there's such thing as positive peer pressure as well as negative peer pressure. It's just negative peer pressure is more common. We can recognize it and relate to it a little bit more. The negative peer pressure is when you feel like you need to do things you don't really want to, doing something only to fit in and maybe changing yourself so that they accept you. You've lost your self-control, your ability to choose and do what feels right for you. So you've got this personal conflict going on of where you feel like that is wrong, but you have to do it to fit in kind of idea. And you can be judged by the actions of the group. If people go, oh, you're friends with them? They are the mean ones. They're rude all the time. You must be mean and rude. Not a great mindset to think through because it's more of a prejudice thing, but you can get judged with the group as well. The positive peer pressure has very similar component in the judging action category, in that people can see you and go, oh, you're friends with so-and-so? They are super fun, they're kind, you must be fun and kind too. When there's positive peer pressure, it's pressuring you to do good things, to stick to your values and your goals and listen to your feelings. It's setting a good example for others. Like maybe you weren't picking up all of your garbage at the lunch table and your friend gently pressures you into cleaning up after yourself, which is a good thing. The negative peer pressure, like I said, comes around a little bit more often. What do you do when it happens? Let's look at some reviewable skills and ways to stand up for yourself. On your paper, you do need to write down at least 4 ways that you can deal with peer pressure. The first couple are similar to our stress one, where you have things that if you do ahead of time will make the pressured situation easier because you've already made some decisions. To do that, you're going to need to know who you are, what you want to be, what your values are, have some positive, realistic goals for yourself, and make some decisions. For example, decide that you are not going to watch an R-rated movie. Once again, each person gets to choose their own decisions. But if you've made that choice and then you're at the movie theater with some friends and are like, hey, let's go watch that, and you know it's R-rated, it's easier for you to go, I've decided I'm not going to watch R-rated movies, right? So knowing who you are and your values and having some decisions that you have made in your life ahead of time can help you in those situations. Taking time to stop and think is also a great way to deal with peer pressure, because then you can weigh the consequences of, if I don't do this, what will happen? If I do this, what will happen? And you can figure out which options you can live with, kind of idea. And if you've chosen to go against the peer pressure, you need to be able to say no and be persistent, because they are going to be persistent trying to convince you to do it. For example, they'll call you a wuss or say, you are so cowardly for not doing X, Y, or Z. They won't just say, oh, they said no, I guess we'll go away. They'll badger you about it. In which case, you might need to terminate the conversation. Say, I said no, and end the conversation, which might look like walking away. And then you need to be careful on the defensive side. Yes, you can defend your thoughts and values, but don't get it to be the defensive that easily turns into arguments and fights. You can calmly state what you believe and think without becoming argumentative and quote-unquote defensive. All right, basic guidelines for saying no, because I said they are not very understanding sometimes and are very persistent themselves. Couple key things is stay calm. Be in control of your emotions and make eye contact with them when you say no. Be assertive. Actually say, no, I will not do that, or no to whatever. If you say, well, no, I don't think that's a good idea, they can sense your hesitation and they will continue to badger and hound at you about it. Repeat as necessary and walk away. Sometimes they will follow. So find a friend or a group of friends or even some adults that can help it be less of a you versus them. And there is what we call safety in numbers. You can avoid the situation in the first place, going back to my R-rated movie idea. If you know your friends are going to the movies and you know they like to watch R-rated movies, avoid the situation. Don't go to the movies with them in the first place. You could potentially change the subject and say, hey guys, the weather outside is amazing. How about we go and play in the park instead of watch a movie? And sometimes you might have to take a stand based off of your beliefs, but once again, you can firmly say what you believe and try not to be argumentative about it. But yes, you can stick with your values and your beliefs. All right, peer pressure reflect time. Once again, you need to write a 4 to 6 sentence paragraph about a time when you either felt positive or negative peer pressure. And one of the easiest ways to get all sentences is to answer all these questions here. Start by describing the situation. What was going on? Was it positive? Was it negative? Who was doing the pressuring? Was it you? Or was someone else pressuring you? What decision did you make? Do you feel like it was a good or a bad one? Maybe explain why. And if you could go back to that situation, would you do anything different? If you honestly cannot think of a single time when you felt pressured, I want you to change this into a, how am I going to pressure people for good? And come up with like a lunchroom cleaning type of, in this scenario, I'd say, or do this to help pressure people or friends into making this better choice. Hopefully you will have some good skills you can use from here on to help you with finding friends, handling pressure of both the stressful and the friend variety.